Hello, this is Dale. Welcome to our 101st show in a row. And joining me is Mike Jones, my co-conspirator.
Man, 101 shows in a row.
Right.
That's this is the beginning, the first of our
Our
shows in
second
between.
100, yeah.
Yes, our second 100. Yes, the first of our second 100 shows.
Right, right.
Yeah, what are we, crazy or something?
Well,
No, what it is, we're under house arrest, so we're home every single
yeah,
day.
yes, it's this bracelet thing around my ankle. When we first started doing this, both of us asked each other. I asked myself, Mike asked himself, and then we started asking each other, uh, do you really think that there's enough happening in the county and county politics that we're not going to, really, do you have? I found my personal experience is that it's speeding up, and not just because of the show, but there are so many things happening just in county politics. It just doesn't go away. I used to sit in on a meeting in the little back room, and at the end of the meeting, well, there really wasn't much. Now it's a very rare experience. I could count on one finger. See, I used a polite finger. The number of times where there really wasn't much that happened. There's goofy things and some smart things, but mostly kind of goofy things and outrageous things and lies and what the heck are they talking about? Things that happen at every meeting now. What do you think, Mike?
Um, well, and even if it's not inside, the commissioner's office there, um, there's all kinds of stuff happening here, especially, the levy's been a huge contributor to this ever since they announced that it was going to happen. And so there's always something going on, that's for sure.
Yeah, this levy thing reminds me sort of war in America. I mean, it's like we're constantly at war. It's one kind of a war or another. I mean, aren't we constantly dealing with the same levy? It's completely different now. No, it's
Yes.
not.
Yeah, no, it does. It's the same thing. Although I'll tell you what, this is, Dale and I we were talking about this before the show. I don't care what he says.
Okay.
No, we
I just want
both
to be
went.
inclusive. Okay.
Yeah, we both went to this conservative action forum here this morning, as we do sometimes once a month, and a gentleman came in there and he was talking about that he was going to vote yes on the levy. And his reasoning for it was that apparently the homeless who are attracted to the downtown because of all the free meals and hospitality given to these people in our
Where did they get that? They're not watching the show, so it doesn't matter. But where did they get that?
where did they get that hospitality?
Yeah, one's the Gospel Rescue Mission. What's the other?
Right, and the other is St. Vincent de Paul, and there may well be another. I'm not really sure, as I don't live right in Grants Pass, and I don't have to deal with this every day. But the merchants in the downtown do have to deal with it every day, and residents who live in the area also have to deal with it. And there is apparently these people are fond of setting up squatter type encampments on property that is just outside the city limits in the county, and you can't get the sheriffs to respond, and apparently they raise havoc for people who are along their pathway to and from the downtown. And so that really bugged me, and it started me thinking, why aren't the police taking a firmer hand about this? I realize we all don't want to be politically incorrect, but isn't it about time we eradicated this problem here? I don't mind helping somebody out if they're going to be respectful. Like, if this was 100 years ago and somebody walked up to your farm and they were in a bad way, you'd help them out. But if they started stealing your chickens or whatever, you'd run them off with a shotgun. So,
That's right.
why are we putting up with this? I mean, do we all want so much to appear to be compassionate people that we're unwilling to say, hey, that is enough. You're not going to do it here. Get the hell out of town.
Well, we were at the Conservative Action Forum, and I do enjoy going to this every month. I'm not necessarily what some people would call a conservative, although I'm fiscally conservative. As you know, I don't believe in action, and I'm also not a forum. But I do
There's
like
good
going.
discussion. There's very entertaining discussion happens there.
It definitely is, right. And they find it interesting that we have the facts and we're willing to share them with people. And I've been to a number of SOS meetings that, as Mike has, and while they will talk about things that they're doing, as far as sharing facts and figures and that kind of stuff, well, they just don't have that. They've got lots of anecdotes, or as Simon Hare calls them, Mike,
Antidotes.
antidotes. They've got plenty of antidotes. But well, getting back to this guy. So he's got this. He did have this problem. Here's the really interesting thing to me. He had a problem, and then he and his neighbors kind of got together, and they took some actions that ended up where these homeless people kind of moved to another area. It's within shouting distance, but it's far enough away that it's not bothering him. But it's still, I don't know how to put this right, still mentally bothering him. He still feels kind of assaulted, even though it's not happening to him anymore.
Well,
and he hired concierge to come in and make absolutely sure, but he's got this, and he's got this, and he's got this going for him, but he still feels. His perception is, we've talked a lot about that, is that he's still under assault.
yeah.
Really?
Well,
Really?
in his defense, a little bit, they moved over a little bit, but they're probably still, the corridor, between where they are now and the downtown has to go past his neighborhood there. So
Yeah,
but
but we also have another kind of corridor in our entire area. It's the I-5 corridor, and there are people who feel intimidated by the fact that miscreants are on the I-5 corridor. It all depends on your point of view and the world in which you live.
Yes, and at this point, this is a very kind of a disturbing thing, because at this point he's so fed up that he's willing to vote for the levy, because he's thinking, hey, maybe that will get some response out there, but he is just that one area of the county, and most 99 and 9/10% of the rest of the county experiences no such situation. I mean, there's nothing like that going on around where I live in the county. So it does bother me a little bit that we would all be paying in the hopes that this would make a difference for him in his neighborhood, and it quite probably will not.
Well, also, he had to admit it's not really for him anymore. It's for other people in some other neighborhood. It reminds me a little bit about people who were concerned about their neighbors' kids and their schooling. Hey, wait a minute. Your kids are growing up, yeah. Your neighbor's kids are growing up, yeah. And so you're worried about your neighbor's kids and the quality of schooling. I mean, I get the fact that we're all part of a global community and et cetera.
Yes.
But I mean, you would vote to raise everybody's school tax because somebody way over there. If you stuck this, according to the statistics that we have at this point, if you just voted on the levy based on whether you and your family are victims, then it would end up being a minority of people.
Yeah. You know what? And it's an interesting thing. I hope I'm getting everything right and we're doing justice to this guy's story, because I don't mean certainly to be dismissive in any way of what his claims are or whatever. As a matter of fact, I volunteered. I'm more than happy to come in there with some other volunteers and help do what we can to to make these miscreants feel uncomfortable being in the area. If to contribute to an effort to get these people out of there, because I don't think that's a fair thing, and I'm really surprised that the Grants Pass Police Department is not doing more about this. and I would really like to hear their reasonings why they're not doing
Well,
more
it
about
seems obvious to me that what needs to be done here is coordination. You've heard a lot about coordination from us between governments. It seems obvious that what needs to be done is you need to get the Gospel Rescue Mission and St. Vincent de Paul people together with the city police people, together with maybe a neighborhood watch people, and you say, all right, now what are we going to do about this? We need to coordinate with each other. Police, you need to do that. St. Vincent de Paul, you need to do this. We all, I hope, that most of us have a good heart. On the other hand, an analogy might be back during the Cuban Missile Crisis, Cuba said, hey, we're an independent country. This isn't the United States over here, and we want to put missiles on our beaches or, you know, in our jungles. And hey, we're an independent country, and we know that, and we're Americans, and we can appreciate that. But we were not going to tolerate missiles being 90 miles from our shore, and we were probably international law and fair play. Maybe we were wrong in that, but we still weren't going to permit that. And we, you know, you got to move those out there. They're going, who the heck are you? What do you think you're doing? Well, yeah. We don't want those missiles there. Well, it's none of your business. Well, we're making it our business.
Right.
Really?
Right. And that's a good analogy. These people are there. You know, they're here. Listen, it's an unfortunate thing from what I've gathered about it, and it may not be totally right. So, you know, if you're watching this and you want to correct me, feel free. But some of these people are coming here from out of the area because of what is provided for them here. And
well, at least they're passing through and they find, hey, this is a place we can dwell for a while. But
right.
Don't forget also, I mean, we haven't forgotten. They're not heartless. Many of these are veterans, and many of these are people are veterans with mental disabilities.
Okay, hang on a second though. Yes, and listen, here we go down political correct street again.
Well, it's true.
But yes, I understand that. But does that mean if the guy who is you know, a drug abuser and alcohol abuser and you know, is milling around the neighborhood, you're going to allow him to defecate on your doorstep every day because he's a veteran?
No.
No, of course not. And
I'm just saying we haven't forgotten this. It's not like we're heartless, but still, I mean, where the stuff hits the road.
Yes, stuff.
You actually, I mean, you have to do something about that.
Yes, of course you do. And you know what? So find this balance between trying to help people out, and I am all for that. But you can usually tell within a short period of time the type of people. I mean, you want to help people who are also willing to help themselves and are not just using you for a flop house and a place to eat while they go out and destroy your neighborhood. You know.
Yeah.
Why is it that this doesn't happen to me on a regular basis, and yet I hear the story and I can say, hey, clearly something needs to be done. Why is it that Grants Pass Police? I really want to know this. Maybe I'm totally way off base. Maybe I'm a whack job. But why are the Grants Pass Police putting up with this crap? Literally.
Yeah. Well, perhaps they feel that their hands are tied. You know, we take action and we get in some kind of legal trouble or whatever.
Yes.
Well, it's true that Grants Pass and every community has this history. I mean, we know, you don't need to be reminded, you know, the pictures of the Klan marching down the middle of the street in Grants Pass. And okay, all right, that is,
but that
is part.
There's none of that is here now.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is, as Keith Heck pointed out one time, we used to have a way to deal with this. Yeah, we know what your way was, Keith. You beat the heck out of somebody, and you run them out of town, and no one knows, and you dump them off in Jackson County or whatever. And there was some stories about the police doing that in our local parks as well. And there were people on both sides who swore that's never happening. Well, something was happening. Okay.
Well, listen, there are a lot of municipalities who have dealt with this problem
Yep.
effectively, and we need to find out what it is that they're doing and replicate it, because it is out of control. And,
Yes.
and you know what? Who's paying the freight here? The business owners and the property owners in the city of Grants Pass are paying the freight. And damn it, it's time that we do something about it. It's time that, listen, who are you going to read the riot act to? The guy who's taking a hard line with people like this, or the people that are doing this stuff?
But then, see, now there is a little truth to the conspiracy theory about this. There is some truth, because there are those who say, you don't like these people and the urban growth boundaries are just, just inside the city. Why, then that means that people in Cave Junction should have to pay extra for their property tax. What?
Yeah. Well, no, listen, I don't agree. I don't agree that if you pass the levy, it's going to mitigate this situation.
I don't think so.
This situation, with a fully staffed, fully funded police department, they are well within their abilities to take care of this issue.
They're just not doing it. And look, you don't get rid of the problem forever. Okay, you're talking about probably 4 or 5 years. It drops down. The word gets around. This isn't a friendly place to go and do that kind of stuff. So they move on to, I don't know, Ashland or something. But what happens in the meantime is that it comes and it goes. Gang activity with various groups of people who are homogenous. You've got gang activity or youthful hijinks or whatever you want to call it with teenagers as an example, and then you've got stuff to do with fully grown adults, and the whole family is living out there in a tent, and they've got 5 dogs and their grandpa or whatever.
No, it's a problem.
It comes and goes.
It's a but here's the thing. You keep these people moving. You keep them moving. They start settling in an area. Come in there and you bang your garbage can lids together and you get them out of there. And never let them rest. And and listen, the ones that are worth salvaging, they're going to the Gospel Rescue Mission or some place where they're willing to be in a supervised environment where there are rules. But this idea that they can victimize people who are paying good money for property taxes, that's no way.
That's a non-starter. And so I'm so sorry, it's like telling Cuba what they can do with their own country. Yes, it is a bit like that. And I'm sorry, because I agree that they are an independent country. However, we're just not going to tolerate missiles being 90 miles away. We're just not going to. And right or wrong, that was our choice, and I think that we made the right choice.
This situation is like the Cubans live here, and and we allow them to carry RPGs in our neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to allow that, right?
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. I don't understand how it got to this level, because they've been dealing with this in town for years.
Yes.
I can't even tolerate hearing about it.
Yes, and he was pretty upset when this levy does not pass in May. There's going to be a number of people who are going to say, in law enforcement and county government and city government, they're going to say, well, all right, now what are we going to do? They're going to have to talk about something to solve some of these problems that we now have. Yeah. And so that's going to be this one.
That's an excellent point, Dale. This issue, they're gonna have to deal with it at some point or another. Is it going to be now, or is it going to be when you've been pushed a little further?
For right now, for whatever reasons, you know what the reasons are. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I have taken off my tin hat. But for right now, this serves a purpose. And you know what purpose it serves. Why, look, everything's terrible, and we need to raise...
I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that. That
they're not solving
government.
it immediately. It's kind of like the county. We know this to be the case. The county has jumped all over our state senators. Our U.S. senators for bringing us good news just before an election.
Right. Yes. And the thing is for your conspiracy to be true, the police chief has to be complicit. I'm not handling this problem.
I'm just saying that there are a lot of things done, and when you're assigning priorities, something that actually helps you get the funding that you're convinced that you need may not be honestly now, I like
Okay.
Chief Landis.
So
May not
that's
be
not
your number one priority for a couple of reasons.
right. But that's still complicit. It's not overt complicit, but it's
Yeah,
still complicit.
yeah, he has to order his priorities, and if there's one that kind of like, well, we can handle this
Well,
before the
okay.
election or after the election.
What's supposed to be the chief's number one priority?
Keeping us safe.
Right, exactly. And if that's not going on, and you have who is a bigger problem in Grants Pass than this homeless situation right now?
Oh, I have an easy answer for that.
Okay, what is it?
The Dale and Mike show.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's what Commissioner Walker says.
The scourge of Josephine County. Anyway,
That's right.
You know what?
We're the problem.
This was not going to be the topic of the show, and we've probably burned 15, 20 minutes on it right now.
Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll take the next couple of minutes, and because it's Saturday, we tell you what our ads are going to be on KMED ahead of time, and they'll start running on Monday, and so it's 6 variations on a theme, and you'll immediately recognize what the theme is, and then, there's a little repetitiveness, but just get used to there's a little repetitiveness, but just get used to there's a little repetitive, just get used to it. Okay, so go ahead and play the first one, Mike.
This is Dale Matthews, editor of BadCounty.com. Moody's Investor Service says Josephine County's financial position has greatly improved. Simon Hare says he personally sold them on the idea that the county was fiscally solvent way back in February. Good. Now there's no need for a levy.
Right.
Yeah, so what he said in this little backroom meeting that I just reviewed before the show is he said, that he was being kind of careful what he said to him, because once you get used to telling everybody how everything's going to hell, it's harder to tell somebody how everything is just terrific and it's looking great. And so he was very careful what he said, because they want a positive rating from Moody's Investors Service.
Mm-hmm.
Play the next one, Mike.
This is Dale Matthews, editor of BadCounty.com. After talking with Simon Hare, Moody's Investor Service says we have a stable tax base due to conservative budgeting. Did he also tell them that a plaque on a rock will create 90 new jobs? So there's no need for a levy.
Yeah.
Conservative budgeting. Have you heard all the details that we've told you on the show about the commissioner's version of conservative budgeting? This comes straight out of the Moody's report.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had some questions about Moody's based on this, Mike.
Yeah, well, actually, my question, I don't know if it's a question per se. I question them now. It's if they're willing to give ratings to counties and cities and states on the basis of reporting that they're receiving from those, I'd say that they're woefully naive about government.
So if you're with some big bureaucratic place like Moody's, and you're trying to rate county government, one is you talk with the county government officials. Two is you talk with the local newspaper. It's the same thing, the same kind of people. And three, you talk with what? The Chamber of Commerce. Now, what's your impression going to be? You're sure not going to watch this show. You're not going to pay. There's no. What, you're going to go to the radio station? You're going to hear the same thing. You, as our audience, are hearing the same stuff from them all the time. You know better now, because we're telling you what's actually happening behind the scenes. These guys don't know what's actually happening behind the scenes, and they're giving their stamp of approval that we are fiscally conservative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Play the next one, please.
This is Dale Matthews, editor of BadCounty.com. Moody's Investor Service talked with Simon Hare, who promised that management is actively seeking alternative revenue sources. Well, that's great news. Now there's no need to raise property taxes. No levy after all.
Yes.
They are seeking.
That is their alternative revenue source,
It's
though.
the only one that they ever have. Remember, we were talking with Bill, and it was like, I think it was 3 hours, but there was this long, drawn-out. People came from everywhere. They were driving in from all over the place to tell us their ideas about how we could alternatives. Why there's mineral wealth here, and there's this wealth, and there's that. Then we could do this. And the commissioners listened to all of them. Yep, all these ideas are sure terrible. We're only going to go with the property tax. That's it.
Yeah.
But they're actively seeking many different things. They're just not telling us about it, Mike.
Yes. Yeah. That's too bad that we can't have leadership with a little bit more vision.
Well, it's awful tough on these guys. Okay, I think. Well, they wanted the job. It's awful tough on them to say, okay, we realize that you think that the only way to directly solve this is with raising people's property taxes, but we've given you a very clear indication about that's not going to happen, and we're going to do it again.
Right.
Now that this has happened, you have no alternative other than to say, all right, even though we don't like some of the other alternatives, we're going to need to put together bits and pieces of all of the other things except for raising property taxes. It's the only solution left.
Yeah. The problem is a lot of these other solutions require at least a partial confrontation of the limitations on this county by the federal government, and none of the commissioners thus far have had a taste for that because it may require some litigation, and of course that takes money that we don't have.
How is Simon Hare going to work his way up to the State House or go out to Washington, D.C. if he's gone up against these people in the past?
Yes. They're going to say, yeah, no way they're going to treat him like they treat Ted Cruz or something,
Exactly right.
Yeah, we don't want nothing to do with you. So
you'd be drummed out of the Rotary Club if you do that kind of stuff. It's not going to work.
Right.
These guys are not going to do that. Until you elect somebody that is not all of them part of the same club. I'm not making this up. You look at all of the major office holders and people that are running this, they're all part of the same club. That gives you an indication right there. There's something wrong.
Yeah, something is goofy.
Okay,
next one. We need better for sure.
Yeah, better for sure.
Joe Matthews, editor of BadCounty.com. Simon Hare told Moody's that the county's financial position has greatly improved, and the Dimmick Tower will attract business, housing for low-income seniors. With that kind of thinking, there's no need for a levy.
So they tear down a building. They still don't have a plan of what they're going to do now that it's torn down. I mean, it's blank ground. They still don't have a plan. One would think one way of dealing with this is to have the plan before you tear down the building. Oh, no.
Or put a for sale sign out there and actively market it to somebody who's going to use it for something.
They still haven't done that. And what they've said is our number one thing that we'd like to do with it is have low-cost housing for senior citizens. They specifically mention senior citizens who have very little income. Now, that's a wonderful plan.
Yes.
It would be wonderful to turn it into a pet hotel. There's plenty of things that could be done that are wonderful. Okay, not equating the two. Don't be dumb. Okay, but the point is, this is going to attract business? No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is why don't you let the free market be the decider of what happens on that property, because that is the only thing that is gonna make business happen here. If what you're gonna try and do is limit the possibilities for that property, you're going to have a property. Listen, we are already limited and greatly by the economy as it sits right now. People are sitting on money. They're not investing it. So if you want people to take money out of their pocket and invest it on that piece of property, number one, you're going to have to offer them one hell of a deal to come in there and do something there. And if you're limiting the choices of that they have to do your significantly reducing the pool that is going to be interested in that piece of property. So
if you wanted, okay, now this sounds elitist. I confess ahead of time, if you wanted to do something that would be good for economic development, it's not going to be centering around low-cost housing for senior citizens. I'm sorry, senior citizens, okay? I'm getting up there near it myself, and I would need something low-cost too. So, I know of where I am speaking. Mike falls into exactly the opposite category. He's a young guy, and he's got plenty of money. So, but what you do is, one plan would be, you would say to a company you would like to have move here, you would say, one is, we fired Keith Heck, so he's no longer going to talk in denigrating terms about high-tech workers like Mike and I are, okay? He's not going to call them little moles that sneak around and do lesser services. Second, if you move here, we'll provide half-cost housing all in one place for all of the people that you bring with you or that you hire, and we'll put them in the new Dimick Tower. It's one way. I mean, gee, whoa, that sounds pretty interesting. I don't know. It's economic development, is it not?
Yeah. Listen, almost anything would be an improvement over the economic development ideas of our current board.
Oh, man, like the 90 full-time family wage jobs. Brother.
Yeah.
Okay, play the next one, please.
This is Dale Matthews, editor of BadCounty.com. Moody's Investor Services, the most promising economic development in all of Josephine County, is from Simon Hare's biggest campaign contributor at the airport. $10 million in investments and 100 new high-tech jobs. Great work, commissioners. There's no need for a levy now.
Well, why do we need to have such a big investment to make 100 jobs when we could just put a couple more plaques up and done?
Well, and Moody says that the reason they changed their rating for Josephine County is because of what Simon Hare and our new finance director have told them about the shining economic opportunity of something that's pretty much gone belly up. They haven't paid anything. They say that the best thing that we've got going for us, and the reason they changed their rating to a better rating, is because of this drone project out at the Ivy Airport, which is a non-starter.
Yeah, it doesn't even exist at this point.
Now, they did not gather this information when they were making the decision. They put out this report in February after 2 payments had been missed. So what kind of stories is this guy right here telling them to get a positive rating?
I'd like to see the correspondence between him and them.
Well, you can guarantee that that's not in writing, and if it was, it's going to suddenly be a Governor and Hillary Clinton type of email that disappears.
Right. So Moody's is in the habit of issuing ratings based on the information gleaned in a phone call?
Apparently, they also met with our finance director, who was more than happy to. Did you guys know, in the audience, did you know how well we're doing? We're doing really great. I mean, things are looking really sunny for us. It's a Shangri-La situation when it comes to talking with Moody's. When talking to you and getting you to fork up more money out of your pocket, it's terrible. It's hell out there. You know, the place is exploding. People are being pulled out of their moving cars and beaten up.
Yes.
They should have talked to Scott Draper. They should have talked to Linda Thomas, who could just cry them a river about how terrible everything is going, and then Simon Harris telling them, things are looking really good for us. Did you know that you were living in a community where things are looking better than ever?
Yes. Well,
play the last one, Mike. Play the last one just before you tell me what.
Okay.
This is Dale Matthews, editor of BadCounty.com. Why are the commissioners so interested in Moody's rating that reports we are conservatively expected to be balanced without use of reserves? Without use of reserves. Come on, you know why. So the county can borrow more money.
That's why I wanted you to play it right away. What's behind all this?
You know, I wonder what they would want to borrow money for.
Yeah.
you know, I listen. I had a sit-down conversation with Harold Haugen when he was the interim commissioner, and we talked about how the budget works here. And I, being at that point, I was totally naive about what happened in local government, and I assumed that it was somewhat similar to the way the feds do, where you increase the budget every year, and of course, the feds get to print their own money, so it's a different deal. But he assured me that everything was cut to the bone, and that they had a budget, and there was no way they couldn't deficit spend. And then at one point I went, well, and this is, a year or two down the road, I'm looking at, say PERS bonds. And I go, what is a PERS bond? I'm trying to figure out what a PERS bond is. Well, a PERS bond is deficit spending by definition, because it happens outside the budgetary process. There is no in other words, the normal contribution that's supposed to go to PERS out of the budget is perhaps happening, but maybe it's not enough to satisfy the obligation that some moron in the county agreed to with the employees union. So at some point, we have to float a bond to satisfy the promises that somebody who is not taking the budget into consideration made, and it should be criminal. And so the idea that we would be trying to make nice with Moody's for the purpose of perhaps having a better rating so we can go borrow some money to do something really ought to make people think a bit.
Well, more than anything else, does it bother you guys at all watching this show that you're being told, relentlessly being told, by KJO, Rotary Radio, by the newspaper, the Daily Courier, not so Daily Courier, by the commissioners, by our police, that everything is awful, that we're on a financial cliff, that we're hanging on by our fingertips, that nothing is working out right, that we're rampant with crime, and then the same people will go to these guys who can give us a higher credit rating and saying how really, I mean, when you read the report, it's like things are looking pretty good for Josephine. Why? They're stable financially. They don't have to do this. They don't have to borrow money. They only loan you money when you don't need it. And the thing, it's looking really good. And boy, the community is cooperating and things are looking better than ever. Oh, really? How come we never hear that?
Yeah.
You know why? Because they can't get more money out of you if they keep telling you that, because you're going to, oh, things are going great. Great. You don't need any more money. Oh, yes, we do. Things are awful. They're having it both ways. Do you feel manipulated yet?
Yeah. Well, if you don't, you might not know anything about what's going on down at the weekly business session and actions that they're taking against people like Dale when the chair decides that he doesn't like something that somebody's saying. And in case you think, well, Dale, he's always mouthing off that, I can see why they do it to him. Well, guess who the other one that they just got done doing it to was Judy Aarons, for crying out loud. And now they have they've shut down the little area. Sandy Casanelli used to go sit in this one particular area down there at the weekly business session, and have her stuff on the counter and take notes and things. So here's some pictures of what they have done. Number one, they took all of the chairs that used to be there. Was a table across the room there with some chairs on it, and they took that table and chairs out, and so this was the solution that Judy and Sandy came up with, and that's
they're bringing in buckets to sit on because well, this isn't because of security. Why, you could pick up a chair and put a camera on the back of a chair. We're not putting cameras on the backs of chairs today. That's not what was happening. What was happening is Sandy Casanelli I'm not trying to speak for her, but she just can't take it anymore, sitting in the same room with these guys, right? And they've treated her and Judy and me, that's not me, pretty badly. And so she likes to sit back there and sort of watch what's going on and then maybe come up and say something. But here they are. They actually bring in their own buckets to sit on. Does this look like it's service to the community? Do you feel that they're being like public servants when they make the citizens do this?
And Sandy used to sit in the area that's right behind Sandy over there. You see the counter, but then you see the chain going across, and it says admittance of staff only. Here's the location. Yeah, I know, but here's the location
used to be right there.
Yeah, there used to be a tall table and some chairs right there, and they don't want anybody, sitting out in the lobby.
Why wouldn't they want anybody sitting in the lobby? That's crazy. Okay, so here's the sliding thing that you used to, it was always open. It was always open.
Yes, it was.
And now, if you look closely, zoom in on that, Mike. I know it'll be a little bit jerky, but we'll live. When you zoom in on that, look at this.
That's a padlock.
What?
Yes.
Why is there a padlock? Well, for security. Oh, please.
Yes. No, they just don't want anybody in there. And
there's nothing there. It's just a little room. They're just being hard to get along with. This is petty. This is ridiculous. This makes you feel like cursing. It's so stupid. Why would they do this? Just because Sandy, look, and here's Judy standing there next to this thing. Look at this. And what does that say? We got a close-up of what that says.
Yeah, it's like, here, hang on. No admittance, staff only.
Staff only. Staff never goes back there.
Yeah, they don't. This is just, what, they want everybody in the same room, so if you need to, rebuke somebody, you can do it, it's just silly.
Well, I saw what was happening when you guys were back there. If you can go back to the thing with everybody sitting on buckets, it was before the meeting, and I saw Keith Heck, and he was pretty upset before the meeting started, and he kept leaning around the corner because these guys were back here, and they were kind of laughing, low-level laughing. Well, they should be crying back there. Why are they laughing? He didn't say that, but, you could tell he was really upset about the fact that people were back there, and he couldn't see what they were up to. You never know what they're up to. Come on, people are happy. They're talking. They're not only talking about Keith Heck. This isn't one of those things you go to a football game and the players are in the huddle. I wonder if they're talking about me. No, you're not that important, Keith Heck. No, the players are not talking about you. This is stupid.
Yeah, it is.
Bring the chairs back. Don't be dumb.
Yeah. Well, too late. They are dumb, and that's that.
Gosh, that's just terrible. Well, on that table, we put. This is mostly due to Mike's efforts. I had something to do with this time because there was like 150 pages or whatever. We put the documents that we would hope that would be available to people who may not have the internet, and we put the documents out there. BadCounty.com prints them. And the general cost, this one was a bit more, but the general cost for printing the little documents that might go on that table is somewhere near 12 cents, maybe $1. Oh, and they kept saying, well, we'll get to it. And finally Simon Hare says, well, we're not going to be doing that. Oh, really? That same day I got up and I said, okay, then we're going to do it. BadCounty.com presents your documents. That's stupid. Why would we have to do that? Oh, it's in keeping with our transparency, Mr. Matthews.
Well, and if you look at this here, this is the table that they normally put those documents on. If they happen to catch this picture very much, or this table starts getting used more often in this same way, you can expect that table to go bye-bye too.
It's not being used it's for official staff use only.
Right.
Get lost. That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's public service? I don't think so. Yeah, that's sorry. It makes me upset when I see it. It doesn't affect me, but it makes me upset when I see that kind of stuff. What in the world are they doing? Why would they want to do that? Don't be dumb. Well, it's too late. They are.